Dr. Umar Johnson has been deceiving people and misusing funds from the Black community for several years now.
I'm gracious, but I'm not content because I know y'all got a lot more to give me than some $250,000.
Hit that Cash App. Let me see who on the Cash App. Where them donations at?
This man's reputation is collapsing. From claiming to be a descendant of Frederick Douglass, Dr. Umar Johnson managed to raise over $1.6 million for a school that never opened. But apparently, millions weren't enough not for someone who calls himself the Prince of Pan-Africanism. His actions appear carefully designed to influence Black consciousness in a way that makes many question their own judgment. Imagine believing his promises year after year, the man who says he's fighting for our children while taking money and delivering nothing. Dr. Umar represents what many scammers aspire to be: persuasive, articulate, and cloaked in the image of Black liberation. At this point, people are calling him more of a con artist than an educator. But now, his entire operation seems to be falling apart. People aren't buying it anymore. DNA tests revealed he lied about being related to Frederick Douglass. GoFundMe shut down his campaign and refunded nearly $376,000 to donors. PayPal froze more than $100,000 in contributions. The Pennsylvania Psychology Board launched an investigation into him for practicing without the proper license. His school building is reportedly being auctioned for $76,000 in unpaid debts anyone who spent time on. Black Twitter has seen them. Chaos claims that he's fabricated everything from property inspections to a staged polygamous wedding meant for publicity, and even tried selling lunch dates in exchange for donations. This is the story of how the so-called Prince of Pan-Africanism became the self-made Prince of Panhandling and, as some would say, the King of Scams. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this breakdown and want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe below. Appreciate you, family. Now, let's get back to the story. Before diving into the financial side, let's start with the lies that set everything in motion. Dr. Umar Johnson, whose real name is Jermaine Shoemake, built his entire reputation on deception. "I am a blood relative of Frederick Douglass," he would declare proudly to audiences nationwide. "We have a family reunion every 2 years." This wasn't a throwaway comment, it was the foundation of his credibility. The supposed descendant of the great Frederick Douglass was here to save Black children. It sounded powerful, inspiring, and it was entirely false.
Hit that Cash App. Let me see who on the Cash App. Where them donations at?
In 2016, the Frederick Douglass Family Initiatives, led by actual descendants Kenneth B., Morris J.R.B., and Nettie Washington Douglass, released an official statement. "We can say with 100% certainty that he is not a descendant of Frederick Douglass." Instead of backing down, Umar doubled down on the claim. So, the Douglass family took it a step further. They pursued DNA testing. Johnson's father's DNA was compared to verified descendants of Frederick Douglass. The outcome? No match. Zero genetic link. The evidence was undeniable. Dr. Umar Johnson is in no way related to Frederick Douglass. In short, his entire platform was built on a claim that could be disproven with a simple DNA swab. By 2014, armed with his fabricated Douglass connection, Umar Johnson began touring the country, preaching a message that deeply resonated with Black parents. He presented himself as a savior, someone who could protect and uplift the next generation. The Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy for Black Boys. This was the vision Dr. Umar Johnson presented. A place where young Black boys would learn their true history, embrace their royal lineage, and understand their divine purpose. "This is a revolution," Umar declared. And Black America listened. Elders who had lived through segregation saw hope. Young adults who were tired of waiting for progress saw action. Dr. Umar Johnson gave the community a dream that felt worth supporting. So, when he asked for donations to make it real, families across the country responded with faith and generosity. The contributions poured in: 20 from a single mother in Detroit, $500 from a grandfather in Atlanta, $1,000 from a professional couple in Washington, D.C., saving for their own children's education. By 2017, Dr. Umar had collected nearly $376,000 through GoFundMe alone. But that was only the start. Additional funds came through PayPal, speaking events, and private transfers totaling more than $1.6 million from hardworking Black families who believed they were investing in their children's future. These donors were teachers, nurses, barbers, and factory workers, ordinary people who sacrificed because they believed in the mission. Meanwhile, Umar's lifestyle appeared comfortable. He traveled frequently, held public speaking engagements, and maintained a visible presence financed largely by people struggling to make ends meet. Yet, as time went on, there was one glaring issue: no school ever opened. By late 2017, GoFundMe shut down his campaign and returned $375,000 to donors after repeated questions about how the money was being used went unanswered. Around the same time, PayPal froze over $100,000 in donations because Umar was reportedly accepting tax-deductible contributions without holding official nonprofit status, a violation of the law. Facebook later suspended his main account for multiple policy breaches. One after another, the very platforms that had helped him raise money began distancing themselves. But did that stop Dr. Umar? Not at all. He simply switched to Cash App and continued collecting funds. When critics began asking for financial transparency and realistic project updates, they were stepping into dangerous territory. Some had been following the situation from the very beginning. Concerned voices in the community spoke up: show us the budget, share a construction timeline, provide the permits, contractor agreements, and educational plan. These were reasonable requests, basic questions any investor would ask before supporting a legitimate project. YouTubers like Lennon Honor began investigating, and community members who genuinely believed in the mission started demanding proof of progress. Where is the money going? Why won't you release the financials? When will children finally be able to attend classes? But Dr. Umar Johnson didn't respond the way most transparent leaders would. Instead, he went on the attack. "Y'all are crabs in a barrel trying to tear down a black king," he said. Running to the white man to complain about the only brother trying to save our children, he framed legitimate accountability as betrayal. In his narrative, anyone questioning him was serving white supremacy. Those demanding clarity were labeled self-hating. The message was clear: real black people don't question. Dr. Umar Johnson, he effectively turned the community's pride and unity into tools for deflection, using people's genuine love for their culture against their right to the truth. When that strategy started to fade, he tried something new. In September 2021, during the FDMG Family Festival, he staged a mock polygamous wedding ceremony with 2 black women, live streamed on Instagram. "I'm not really getting married though, ladies," he told the camera. It was pure performance and attention-grabbing stunt designed to generate buzz and attract more donations, and it worked. The black community rallied around him even more, defending him against critics and contributing additional funds. Each time someone questioned Dr. Umar, 10 others would donate just to show loyalty. Social media became divided. Critics were branded as traitors, while money continued to pour into his accounts. Meanwhile, Umar's lifestyle remained comfortable: constant travel, frequent speaking engagements, and a high-profile image, all funded by supporters, many of whom were struggling financially but believed they were investing in something transformative. However, as his following grew, so did reports of questionable conduct. Allegations began surfacing about his business dealings. One example came from King Randall, who paid Umar $3,000 for a scheduled speaking event. Umar accepted the payment, agreed to appear, but never showed up. Then came the infamous 2017 Chicago property incident. Umar posted a video claiming he was inspecting a Chicago public school property for potential purchase. But further investigation showed this wasn't true. The agency managing Chicago public schools real estate publicly stated the video was fabricated. Johnson had no authorization to be on the premises and may have trespassed. Other contractors and collaborators shared similar experiences. Upfront payments made, promises given, and then complete silence when it was time to deliver. The pattern had become obvious. Dr. Umar Johnson consistently accepted money without delivering on his promises. When Pennsylvania state authorities began reviewing his professional background, they uncovered even more concerning behavior. In 2017, the Pennsylvania State Board of Psychology opened a formal investigation into Dr. Umar Johnson for allegedly practicing psychology without the required license. The hearing took place on January 8, 2018 in Harrisburg. With potential fines of up to $10,000 per violation, Dr. Umar had been publicly presenting himself as a psychologist through radio appearances and promotional materials. But investigators confirmed he did not hold a valid clinical psychology license to operate independently. During the hearing, Johnson argued that he only described himself as a school psychologist. Yet multiple recordings from radio interviews showed him referring to himself simply as a psychologist. This issue went beyond semantics. It was about a man misrepresenting his qualifications while collecting money from those who trusted him. Soon after, his financial mismanagement came under scrutiny when the city of Wilmington pursued overdue property payments. Dr. Umar's long-standing pattern of avoiding financial obligations became publicly visible. He had claimed to have purchased school buildings in Delaware for between $400,000 and $750,000 in cash using donations. However, official property records told another story. Since 2017, the listed owner was actually K-12 Management, Inc., not Dr. Umar Johnson. By 2025, the property had accumulated more than $76,000 in unpaid water bills and vacant property registration fees, 4 years of ignored invoices. For someone who claimed to have raised over $1.6 million, such an amount should have been insignificant. Yet, instead of resolving the issue, Dr. Umar allowed the debts to build up, disregarded city notices, and awaited the outcome. On August 5, 2025, the city issued a formal auction notice, warning him to pay by August 25th or forfeit ownership of the building rather than settling the relatively minor debt. Dr. Umar turned the situation into another opportunity to portray himself as a victim. He went live on social media calling for protests and boycotts and claimed he was being targeted by a racist conspiracy. However, his version quickly unraveled. The city of Wilmington, in response to his public accusations, released official correspondence and payment records that completely contradicted his claims and exposed the truth behind his narrative. City of Wilmington released detailed records showing its repeated efforts to communicate with Dr. Umar Johnson. In October 2024, officials emailed him requesting that he complete a waiver application, but he never responded. By January 2025, the deadline had passed with no submission. In April 2025, Dr. Umar provided some documents, yet still failed to include the required waiver application. Between April and August 2025, the city's finance department made multiple follow-up attempts, but none received a complete or satisfactory response. Finally, in August 2025, after months of non-payment and failure to comply, the city issued a formal auction notice for the property. Throughout this entire process, Wilmington officials gave Dr. Umar every chance to resolve the issue. They offered payment plans, sent numerous reminders, and tried to cooperate with him in good faith. Despite these efforts, Dr. Umar made no genuine attempt to save the property. Losing the building also meant losing his most recognizable fundraising symbol, the supposed foundation of his dream school. But instead of taking accountability or paying his debts, Dr. Umar appeared to shift toward another questionable money-making strategy. As his reputation declined and the property faced auction, he launched one of his most bizarre fundraising efforts yet. The man who once claimed he would build institutions for Black empowerment began offering paid lunch dates to female supporters. The self-proclaimed Prince of Pan-Africanism had seemingly reduced his mission to what looked like a small-scale dating hustle. He claimed that his bank accounts were still frozen and said he needed donations just to cover his basic living expenses. Now, nearly a decade after vowing to revolutionize Black education, Dr. Umar Johnson was asking for grocery money through Apple Pay and PayPal in exchange for casual dinner meetups. After 10 years, more than $1.6 million in donations, countless unfulfilled promises, false claims of being related to Frederick Douglass, and multiple payment platforms banning him for fraudulent activity, the Black community finally had all the evidence it needed to see Dr. Umar Johnson for who he truly was. The investigation by the Psychology Board, the fake property inspections, the unpaid bills leading to auction, the questionable dating schemes, and the documented communications from Wilmington all revealed a clear pattern. Dr. Umar Johnson repeatedly collected money and failed to deliver results. Eventually, the Black community began to see the truth. Social media became filled with posts from former supporters expressing regret for donating. Even YouTubers who once defended him started retracting their support. The overall sentiment shifted from "give him a chance" to "we've been misled." Dr. Umar Johnson ended up teaching the community a difficult but valuable lesson. He showed that charisma without accountability becomes manipulation, that racial loyalty without transparency turns into exploitation, that good intentions without results are nothing more than costly performances. Most importantly, he reminded everyone to ask for proof before offering respect. The most painful part isn't just that Dr. Umar deceived people, scammers have always existed. The real tragedy lies in what could have been achieved with the $1.6 million he raised. That money could have funded after-school programs across multiple neighborhoods, provided scholarships for hundreds of students, or supported struggling Black schools trying to stay open. It could have built mentorship programs, tutoring services, and community centers, real initiatives with measurable impact. Instead, it financed one man's lifestyle and self-promotion for nearly a decade. Meanwhile, there are genuine educators and community leaders doing powerful work with far fewer resources. Teachers in underfunded schools, organizers running after-school initiatives, and mentors guiding at-risk youth. They are the real heroes. Yet they received nothing while a con artist prospered. Dr. Umar Johnson's years-long deception should serve as a lasting lesson for the community. From the start, demand transparency. Any legitimate organization will willingly share financial records, project timelines, and concrete plans. If they refuse, that's your sign to walk away. Always question those who cannot tolerate being questioned. True leaders welcome accountability. False ones hide behind claims of racial persecution or loyalty tests. When someone builds credibility on family heritage, verify it. DNA tests are inexpensive and accessible. Support existing, proven programs over new and flashy promises. Many Black-led organizations are already producing real results and deserve continued backing. And remember, calling out fraud is an act of protection, not betrayal. Those who raised concerns early on were safeguarding the community, not trying to divide it. Evaluate leaders by their actions and outcomes, not their speeches or slogans. Results will always speak louder than rhetoric. Dr. Umar Johnson's chapter may be closing, but the community's story continues. The lesson is clear: we can no longer afford to invest our resources, time, or trust in deception. Our community's trust and financial support are too valuable to waste. We've come to understand that true progress requires genuine effort, accountability, and tangible outcomes. We've also realized that the loudest person in the room isn't always the one worth following. Most importantly, we've learned that we don't need a savior. We need to save ourselves through honesty, transparency, and by backing programs that truly make a difference. The Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy was never meant to open. It was built on a continuous promise, a never-ending fundraising pitch, a fantasy that turned hope into profit without ever producing results. But our children deserve more than dreams. They deserve real schools, real opportunities, and real change. And that starts with us by building genuine institutions rooted in integrity and accountability. Dr. Umar Johnson didn't fail to build a school. He succeeded in creating exactly what he intended: a personal income stream powered by our community's belief. But his success has become our lesson. We know better now. We expect better now. And we will do better now. No more false prophets. No more charming deceivers. No more empty promises. From this point forward, we'll support organizations that prove their work, not just talk about it. We'll fund programs that educate children in real classrooms, not showcase abandoned buildings. We'll invest in leaders who welcome tough questions, not those who attack anyone who asks them. The era of the false prophet is over, and the era of genuine work begins now. If this video helped you understand Dr. Umar Johnson's decade-long deception, share it with someone who deserves to know the truth. And if you're aware of real Black educational programs making a difference in your community, share their details in the comments below.